everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand. It is the afternoon show, and we have a question for you. Is Paul Scholes right about dropping Amrabat for Eriksen? We're going to get into it. We're going to discuss it. What is the future for Amrabat and Mount? Two midfielders that have been brought into Manchester United this season, and they've not quite yet got up and running, but we're going to be discussing it with Jordan. Jordan, you're amazing on the fan forum. Gutted I missed it, but get to have my time with you today in the studio. I'm happy about it.
Looking forward to 2 o'clock show with Star Girl Beth.
Thank you. Crazy
comments from Scholes, in my opinion. I really don't think we should be dropping a defensive-minded midfielder in Amrabat for someone like Eriksen. I think it just leaves us wide open against a team as good in midfield as Man City. And I think it's somebody else that needs to be sacrificed in order to bring Eriksen in my opinion.
I am with you. I'm with you. And I'm also with Paul Scholes. I think that Scholes is absolutely right in the sense that Eriksen is deserving of a spot in the starting 11.
100%.
He's influenced our games massively off the bench. And I was saying, I mean, you guys, if you watch the shows regularly, you'll see that I said, I actually am really liking Eriksen's role off the bench. He's coming on, he's impacting games. You're getting the best out of him because we all know over 90 minutes, sometimes it's a stretch for him. He doesn't have the legs almost, but the way he's playing, I feel like you've got to find a way to start him in at least one game a week at the moment. He's the only guy in there that can actually, as Erik ten Hag would say, like play football, influence the ball in the way that he does, as in keep possession for us and create chances, unlocking the door, like you would say. I saw you say that on the forum yesterday. But at the same time, Amrabat isn't the player I'd be dropping for him.
No, totally agree. And you look at the two halves yesterday, they were night and day. And the big difference in the second half, as we said, was Eriksen. He's the one that can see the pass. He's the one that fills the other midfielders with confidence. You look at the attackers, they're starting to make runs because they know they can be found by someone like Eriksen. Ultimately, you know, we need to be tighter defensively. And I don't feel it should be Amrabat is the one that we sacrifice.
Yes, I am with you on that one. I mean, I'll actually tell you guys what Paul Scholes said. Paul Scholes says that Christian Eriksen is a better footballer than Amrabat and should be starting in Manchester United's midfield. Second half was a lot better, but you bring on the better footballers. You bring on Christian Eriksen, a much better footballer. No disrespect to Amrabat, he's a stopper. He'll do this kind of thing, but he won't build up play. Christian Eriksen will. You saw the runs being made. All of a sudden, Fernandes is in the game, Garnacho too. Eriksen will find these players for a 15 to 20 minute spell. They looked like a proper team again. And Scholes, I think what he's saying is absolutely right. We were much better with Eriksen on the pitch, and it's not a coincidence. It's happened a few times now in the last couple of games. Erik ten Hag's recognised it himself. But is Eriksen's role to come on and impact the game, or should he be playing from the start, knowing that over the course of 90 minutes, sometimes he can get battered physically? It's a tough question. You guys get your comments in down below as well. I want to see what you guys are saying. But for the derby, Jordan, what would you go with?
I think we need to be tighter in midfield. I think, you know, you need that double pivot. And I think where he's asking McTominay to play there and to play further forward, I don't feel like we're in a position to do that. That's the player for me that I would sacrifice. I would play Eriksen, but I would go Casemiro and Amrabat. I think he needs to be tighter in the midfield and try and get over the midfield.
So you would go with Casemiro, Amrabat and Eriksen in the midfield. So you drop Bruno?
Yeah, I would.
Wow.
I really haven't been happy with Bruno the last couple of weeks. I really haven't. And I'm a massive Bruno fan. Like, I argue with people till I'm blue in the face.
Like me then.
about Bruno. But he just isn't offering enough. And I just feel like I've watched us play Man City so many times over the years, and we just get so dominated in midfield. Same against, you know, your Liverpools and whatnot. I just want us to be competitive in the midfield, get hold of it, and then eventually, you know, try and grow into the game. What you don't want to be is 20 minutes in and be 2-0 down.
I completely agree in the sense that we need to try and keep possession. Get into half-time at 0-0 would be absolutely amazing, incredible for us at the weekend. And it's sad that we're really saying that, but that is the position that we're in.
That's where we are.
And for that reason, I wouldn't be dropping Amrabat for Eriksen at the weekend. I mean, I wouldn't be... This is the crazy thing. I wouldn't be absolutely devastated if I saw a starting lineup and it was McTominay, Eriksen and Bruno, which I think, in a way, it could potentially be. Because I think McTominay did decent when he dropped back a little bit. I think that playing him as that second striker just was not working at all. And in a way, for me, this is how I explained it. Obviously, I didn't speak on the fan forum afterwards, but I think Amrabat did get scapegoated a little bit in that first half.
100%.
What happened is McTominay, who is in the starting lineup, he's supposed to be a midfielder, is playing as a second striker to Højlund. Literally as far up the pitch as Højlund is. Obviously, the manager's told him to do that.
Sometimes
that's what Scott McTominay's been told to do. So it's not as if he's just randomly decided to do it. He's been told. Then you have Anthony, Højlund, McTominay, and Rashford all in a line. Bruno's pushing dead high up as well.
Yeah.
And you've literally got Amrabat in the midfield on his own being marked by about 3 or 4 players. It's impossible for Amrabat to come and collect the ball off the centre-backs when he's the only one in that space. Of course they're going to cut off the passing lanes to him.
Yeah.
So I do think Amrabat got scapegoated a little bit, whereas when Eriksen came on, you saw McTominay shift back into the CDM role. Eriksen had a little bit of help, sitting a little bit deeper. Bruno dropped deeper as well. And I just think, as a team shape, we look better. So obviously, I think Eriksen is having really good games when he's coming on the pitch, but I think the team shape helps a lot as well. And I can't figure out for the life of me why Erik ten Hag is trying to play McTominay as a second striker and play all of our forward players in a row. It just isn't working.
I don't know. It is concerning, and we were talking yesterday on the fan forum about, you know, Mason Mount's come in there. You know, you got Garnacho and players like that are more attack-minded players, but he's choosing to play McTominay there. You know, which I just find crazy. I really do.
Well,
I know he's scored a couple of goals, but his overall influence in the game, I don't think is great.
Yeah, Jordan, I'll put it to you guys and I'll put it to the chat as well, get involved. And J-Law says, Jordan, love your back, missed you and love your takes. We're so happy to have Jordan back up in the studio. I absolutely love you being here, but for you guys and you as well, Amrabat was obviously brought in. I think he's going to get utilised. I think he's just adapting to Manchester United and playing football at Old Trafford, to be honest with you. I see so much potential in him. And I think people are expecting out of him something that he's not. Like Paul Scholes says, he is a stopper, he's a CDM. And he will control that midfield for you if you have the team shape around him that allows him to do that. But one that is a little bit concerning, you know me, I was buzzing when this guy signed. Mason Mount. Number 7, 60 million. He's going to get labelled with it because that's what happened. Another midfielder that Erik ten Hag's brought in the summer, priority signing, and didn't get used at all last night. Sheffield United game got used for about 6 minutes. I mean, what is Mason Mount thinking right now, and what do you think the logic is for this with Erik ten Hag behind that?
We were talking about yesterday. He's got a big problem, Mason Mount, because I don't see how he gets back into the team. And, you know, at the beginning of the summer, there was never a player that we thought we would ever be linked to. And we went out, put our neck on the block to go and sign him. We made a massive song and dance. The marketing and media team were in absolute freefall. You know, he was the next Messi that we were signing. And it just hasn't happened for him. And I now look at the team and I can't see where he fits in. And the Amrabat signing, when we were calling for another defensive-minded midfielder, that was because we were saying that Casemiro had too much to do. So we wanted to sign another defensive midfielder to play alongside.
Now people are talking about dropping in.
Now people are talking about dropping Casemiro and just playing Amrabat on their own. And now they're talking about dropping Amrabat and playing Eriksen. We're going to have the same problem that we had. We are wide open in the midfield. The idea is that you play 2 defensive-minded midfielders, get hold of the game, and then give the ball to the more creative players. Well, if Eriksen is one of our more creative players, then we have to sacrifice someone else further up the field that isn't being creative. And at the moment, you look at Rashford, Bruno being played out of position. For me, it's one of those that needs to be dropped in order to bring Eriksen in, if we're saying that we're going to start Eriksen for 90 minutes.
Shane P says Mount, Casse and Eriksen and Bruno on the right for City. I mean, we can talk about that in a second. I'll ask you about Casemiro's role coming into the City game and all things like that, because I think people forget Casemiro's back. Whether he starts or not is a different story. I'm not sure. But with Mason Mount, you say it's not really happened for him. Has he really been given the opportunity? Really?
What I would say is what is his best position?
10.
Then,
but I think you can play Bruno as an 8. I think you can.
Then the argument is then he should be starting over McTominay because McTominay's been playing in that position.
Yeah. I for me personally, and I think McTominay's done okay. I think yesterday he was decent. Concerning how he's given 2 penalties away in the last 2 games, that needs to be not happening.
Decent in what way though?
No, I think decent yesterday in the sense he held down the fort. It wasn't brilliant, and it wasn't good, but nobody was good. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not just going to say, oh, McTominay was horrendous, because nobody was good apart from Eriksen when he came on. I thought Højlund actually was quite lively as well, and you know the defence was decent. But in regards to midfield, I'm not just going to go all in on McTominay because I don't think Bruno was very good either, and I don't think Amrabat was very good, but he didn't really have the opportunity to. For me, with McTominay, over the course of 90 minutes for 2 games, you're just not getting enough out of him.
100%.
Of course, that goal against Sheffield United was great. The goals against Brentford were great. But these are moments. And we're talking about moment players. I think McTominay's role is to come on off the bench to either impact the game as in to get him in the box, score him a goal, get some physicality, or to get him in the box to defend physicality. I think he's got attributes. I don't think it's over the course of 90 minutes. So for me, I look at it, I think, who's the better football player, Mason Mount or Scott McTominay? I think Mason Mount is. I think he makes things tick more. We talk about Eriksen being the only one.
That's not even a debate.
Yeah, we talk about Eriksen being the only one who can take hold of the midfield and keep possession. Eriksen's better at it, but I want to see Mount progress. Mount can do that as well. Mount, when he's played, people were talking about how he was in the games he's played, and I love Bruno Fernandes. He was better than Bruno in both of them games. So then to get dropped, for me, I would feel a little bit hard done to when I was just getting my stride a little bit.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It is still early, and maybe he should have been given an 8 to 10 game run in his favoured position to allow him to get up to speed. I just feel like in the games that he has played, I just haven't really seen enough of him, and I feel like the manager was in a position where he needed to get points on the board. And he's caught between a rock and a hard place, wanting to play a certain style, and he's just gone, right, let's go back to basics. Let's drop Mount and let's play players and just get a result rather than play in a specific way to try and get a result because he wasn't working. And I feel it's similar to what happened last season with the first couple of games. We tried to play a certain style of football, didn't work, and he's just thought, right, we've got to get points on the board.
But it's not even as if he's resorted to last season's style of football. He's still trying to play the same way. And it's not working. The only time it changes is when Eriksen comes on the pitch, because Eriksen doesn't have the capabilities to go and press the way he wants his midfielders to do. So Eriksen drops back, McTominay drops back a little bit, and we look better. No, I'm not taking anything away from Eriksen because he's very good and he's influencing the game well, and he gets in the right positions and he's making the right passes. But the whole team shape changes to benefit Eriksen when he comes on, which makes us better as well, I think.
I know, but again, I feel like we're all getting excited about the Eriksen thing. And he has been great in the halves that he's played or the minutes that he has played. But also, we were saying last season, Eriksen can't give us enough across 3 games a week.
Exactly, we need to save him.
We need to save him. And that's why Mount...
That's why
Mount was brought in. But... why is Ten Hag then starting?
It's basically McTominay playing in Mount's position. People
100%.
talking about Eriksen or Mount. Eriksen's role off the bench is, I think, very good. And in certain games you want to play him from the start. It's still a massive influence on the team. You can be a massive influence on the team from coming from the bench. But, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he did that. But also, Mount should be playing for McTominay. And I said this, I feel like McTominay left Erik Ten Hag no choice but to keep him in the team because of the goals he was scoring. And he obviously wanted to reward them goals, and especially for the Brentford game, realistically, I'm not saying he kept him in a job because he would have still been in a job, but he took a lot of pressure off him during that international week.
No,
and I think he wanted to reward him in that sense. Paul the Party Animal Parker says, against Man City, we will need Bruno, Casemiro, Amrabat in midfield. Any other midfield will get passed through. I'd be so up for that midfield. I think Eriksen not starting, the only game you could really make a point for that now would be for City, just purely because of the physicality and how much our midfielders will need to get around. So I don't expect Eriksen to start against City. If it was any other team, I would be saying he needs to start. But we need the physicality in there for City.
If we have a midfield of Eriksen, McTominay and Bruno against Man City, we're getting slayed.
Yeah.
I do not see a way that we win that game with that midfield.
Eriksen, McTominay and Bruno.
I don't see it. There's no one there that fills me with any level of confidence defensively.
I think Casemiro will come back in. I think Casemiro and Amrabat would be a good direction to go in. I'd like to play Eriksen, but again, off the bench if we just keep it to 0-0. So it's not as if we need to go out there and score in the first 20 minutes. If we just keep it to 0-0 to half time, Amrabat, Casemiro and Bruno. Bruno's there for unlocking the door. Probably going to play counter attack with Rashford on the break. Bruno, we saw that ball to Garnacho he did last night. He's got them in his locker, and Garnacho should have scored it, and people would have been talking about that Bruno ball because it was brilliant. So you can play that and then bring Eriksen on to maybe in the second half try and unlock something against City. It's going to be a tough game, but I want to ask you quickly. Sorry, Ryan Fisher says Bruno went missing first half, should have been subbed at half time for Mount. So clear and obvious. I do think Mount should be getting at least the substitute appearances. I wouldn't be against Mount coming on for Bruno in certain situations.
It was embarrassing yesterday watching him jogging up and down, and then he just didn't come on. Like, what is he thinking?
He's won the Champions League as well. And we're struggling to get out the Champions League group stage.
Yeah, he has won the Champions
League. But Jordan, I think, is very highly likely, although he does very much like Anthony, that Bruno could play on the right against Man City. Do you think we'll see that?
No, I don't. I feel that the thing with Anthony is that he's obviously going through some personal stuff, as we know, and I just feel like he's trying to play him through it. And to be honest, I don't think Anthony was that bad yesterday.
I thought he was so decent.
I thought none of the midfielders, like you said, apart from Eriksen, played really well. And at half-time, it could have been a pick-em for who he decided.
He was better than Rashford.
Anthony was. Yeah, I agree. I've not been overly impressed with Rashford or Anthony all season. Bruno all season. I think they've moments with Bruno, but Rashford, I really haven't. The chance he had yesterday and that touch was dreadful. It's unforgivable almost.
If you had the opportunity, say, 1 second, David DeBrew says, why not play more midfielders in a different shape? I don't want to change the shape, especially after the whole Brighton debacle. We need to stick with that. And we just had 3 wins and a bounce. I know it's the derby. I know you've got to come up with different tactics, but changing the shape, I think will just screw players' heads, in my opinion.
3 wins on the bounce. Do you feel we've got momentum?
No, because I felt like we deserved to lose all 3.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the issue. That's the issue that we're having here. And somehow we've scraped by, and it will come back to bite us. And I feel like we could be brought back down to earth. I mean, we know it's coming, but I think we could be taught a lesson on Sunday if we're not careful. I really think we could.
Yeah.
If we play the way we've been playing, I just hope we see something different. Mario Cabrera says, I would bet heavily Ten Hag goes with Casemiro, McTominay, Eriksen, and then Bruno on the right. There's so many different options. I want to speak to you about this. Say, for example, we went Casemiro, McTominay, Eriksen in the midfield, or we went even Casemiro, Amrabat, Eriksen, or we went Casemiro, Amrabat, Bruno.
All right.
Right-hand side.
Yeah.
If I said to you now, you can either pick Anthony or Mount to start there, the derby, who would you go with? And get in the chat as well.
I would go with Anthony. I feel like we keep saying that Mount's best position is the 10. We've got to play our best players in their best positions. And crowbarring people in and just throwing them out on the right to try and get something out of them in a massive game like Man City, we just get found out. Play your best players in their best positions.
I think I'd pick Mount, and that's not just because people think, I'm a favouritism or anything like that, because I actually do like Anthony. I think he's got potential. I want him to do well. I'm not one of them people that's really getting on his back. I need more. I definitely need more.
I need more, yeah.
And he deserves criticism. But I would go with Mount purely for the fact I think we need to stabilise the midfield, and I think he can... I mean, Anthony's also got a great work rate on him as well.
He has, yeah.
And he can go at players, but I just think Anthony's quite predictable. Although he did score that goal against Man City, that consolation goal. I mean, it's a tough one, but I think I would go with Mount for this. He's been saving him all week. Surely he's going to start.
Why are we signing players to be a number 10 and then having to put them out on the right?
But let me just explain a little bit further.
Yeah.
I think Anthony's got great work rate, so it's not as if I'm worried about the work rate for Mount.
Okay.
That's going to massively improve. Mount's got great work rate too. So that, I think Anthony or Mount are both going to provide you. They've both got good work rate. Anthony obviously can go at players a little bit more than what Mount can do on that side. But the thing is why I think I would edge with going with Mount is because any opportunity we're going to have, I want it to lead to something. The problem for me is Anthony doesn't cross into the box. He cuts inside and shoots, and often that is such a wasted opportunity against the likes of a Man City.
Yeah.
Whereas Mount, when you've got Højlund in the middle, which I'm sure Højlund's going to play, he's got such a good cross in him. It's like he's a right foot getting a cross into the box. I sound like Ricky. Yeah. I think that's an opportunity that we can exploit in there.
But have we seen that from Mount?
Because he's barely had any time. He's not even played on the right. He played on the right for about 20 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. So is Man City the game to be trialling things like that? I don't think it is. That's why I'm saying Anthony. You're playing Luton. Okay, let's try Mount on the right. Let's see what happens then. Man City, you've got to play your best players in their best positions.
And I don't think Dallow's been helping out a lot getting forward. I don't think he'll be able to do that as much against City because he'll be thinking going backwards as well. I mean, Doku especially. Yeah. He's going to have eyes in the back of his head thinking with Doku. So that help that we've had on that right-hand side from Dallow against the likes of the Sheffields, the Brentfords, the Copenhagens. No disrespect to them teams because he probably all outplayed us. Yeah. But Dallow's not going to be able to do that as much. So I would like Mount to be there to be able to provide them crosses that Dallow has actually been doing quite well for us too. Someone said, Beth, showing your knowledge again, did you see Bruno play 8 last night? He can't play it. I thought actually Bruno was... And he wasn't good, but I think he was better last night than he has been the last few games.
Not in the first half.
And I don't think he was good. I don't think he was good. But I seen him play 8 last season, and I seen him play 8 very well. So I've been thinking a little bit like it. I think he can play. He played 8 at Sporting. He's played for 8 for his country. I know he's played on the right a few times for them as well, and that's not necessarily worked out. Yeah. My opinion is I think he can play 8. Do I think it's something that we should try out in the derby? No, and I wouldn't suggest doing that. But I think we can definitely utilise it more often.
But I just, again, the key word there is can. yes, these players can play somewhere. Amrabat can play left back. Bruno can play 8. But where are their best positions? Where are we going to get the most out of them? Where are we going to play them and they've got the least excuse to not perform at their best?
I think the only problem is right now we have no one that is actually hitting the heights that we need him to hit. So it's not as if you've got someone, for example, imagine a Jude Bellingham where you're like, he has to start in this team because he's that good.
Yeah.
We don't have, everybody's underperforming. Yeah. So you'd pick him and you're thinking, who's going to be best in this game? No one's demanding their spot on the team sheet. Bruno used to be that player for us where he'd demand his spot on the team sheet, and now even people are questioning that. I would still play him for his captain, and I think you have to still stick with him, but that's the issue we've got, and that's why no one can decide. Robert McCormack says, I think he has to go Casemiro, Mount, Bruno, Rashford, Anthony, Rasmus. Casemiro, Mount, Bruno would get cut through, do you reckon?
Who? Casemiro, Bruno? Oh, yeah, no.
I wanted to go with Amrabat, Mount and Bruno last night. I think you can afford to do it against the Sheffields, the Copenhagens, the Brentfords.
Yeah.
And I think Mount can do it, but I think in the City you just can't do that.
I just think people are forgetting the whole reason that we wanted to sign another defensive midfielder was for these type of games coming up, where we want to lock it down. Yeah.
I mean, lastly, Jordan, we'll finish up the show, and everybody, you get yours in the comments as well, and we'll come back to this and see what Erik ten Hag does. I thought he was going to listen to me last night when we saw the number 10 get held up for Martial coming on.
Yeah.
I thought Rashford was coming off, and Martial and Højlund are actually going to play together for once. And I was like, yes, and then he got switched. I was like, no. Yeah. But we'll do our midfield 3 for the derby, and everybody get it in the comments as well. Robert says I wouldn't go with that. I said that's what he would go. We'll have to see, Robert. I reckon yours will have Eriksen in it, though. I know you're a big fan. But Jordan, you do the honours first. You're the guest. Your midfield 3. Nail it down.
I think he will pay
for City.
I think
he. No, that you would go with.
I said who I'd go with. Controversial. I'd go Amrabat, Casemiro,
and Bruno.
No, I'd drop Bruno.
Eriksen.
Yeah.
Casemiro, Amrabat, and Eriksen.
Yeah.
And what do you think he will go with?
I think he will go McTominay, Casemiro, Bruno.
Yeah, I think he'll go with that as well. But what I would go with, everyone, I would go with Casemiro, Amrabat, and Bruno, I think.
Okay.
And I would be playing Mount on the right, and I'd be bringing Eriksen on after half-time, depending on the game. I'd be utilising them players. But that's what I'd be going with. But everybody, get in the comments what you guys think. Everyone was calling me a Casemiro hater the other day. I'm playing him again now, so I'm clearly not. I'm just looking at different games. I really like him. I hope he has a good game in the derby. And he'll be fresh, ready to come back. Yeah. We like that. But a bit of a different video for you guys. A short little 20-minute one for the 2 p.m. discussing the midfield. Amrabat and Mount, both, I thought, were great signings in the summer, and both not progressed the way we'd want them to. And what is their future under Erik ten Hag? Get in the comments down below what you guys think. Last super chat, Ryan Fisher says Mount, Casemiro, Amrabat all day long. I mean, that's, again, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad. Bruno might be on the right in that.
Bruno, Mount, Eriksen, I don't mind, but I just want to see Amrabat and Casemiro in there.
Yes, Travelbook.tv, Casemiro, Amrabat, Eriksen. Thank you, everyone, for all your super chats and your comments. Really appreciate it. Everyone getting involved in the community, that is what it's all about. Make sure you like the video. We've got so much coming up. We've got derby previews. We've got call-in shows. We've got loads of stuff. Mark's going to do loads of content coming up as well. Podcast is getting filmed, I know, today. So loads coming up. Jordan, thank you for being here.
Absolute pleasure. Love being in the studio. Can't wait till next game is Luton. I'll be up. Yeah,
next game is Luton. So we'll see Jordan then. Good. And everyone, fingers crossed, hope and pray for the derby on Sunday. Højlund's going to score. You heard it here first. See you then, everyone.